Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most significant and high-impact events in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Ukrainian drones have reportedly struck one of Russia's key radar systems, an attack that carries massive strategic consequences far beyond just a single explosion. This event is already being studied by analysts across the world, not only for its tactical boldness, but also for the major shift it represents in modern warfare and the balance of power in the region. In this video, we are going to break down what happened, why this radar is important, how Ukraine pulled off such a strike, and what the aftermath means for Russia's defenses, Ukraine's capabilities, NATO's interests, and the future of the war. The strike was not just another drone attack. It wasn't an ordinary hit on a supply depot, an ammunition warehouse, or a temporary military camp. This time, Ukraine targeted one of the pillars of Russia's early warning defense structure. Russia relies heavily on long-range radar systems to monitor incoming threats, track aircraft, watch for missiles, and secure the vast airspace of its western regions. These radar facilities act like the eyes of the country, constantly scanning the skies for danger. When a radar system like this is taken out or even temporarily blinded, the consequences ripple far across military operations. What makes this strike remarkable is not only the precision of the attack, but the distance at which it was carried out. Ukrainian drones have repeatedly demonstrated extended operational ranges, evolving from simple short-range quadcopters into sophisticated long-endurance aircraft capable of flying hundreds of kilometers deep into Russian territory. Each successful long-range operation proves that Ukraine's drone program is advancing at a pace few predicted at the start of the war. With access to new technologies, innovative local engineering, and support from Western partners, Ukraine has been able to construct drones that challenge even some of Russia's most fortified locations. The radar system that was struck, according to reports, is part of Russia's air defense framework designed to detect threats from the west, an area Moscow considers strategically vital. These radars typically operate as part of a layered defense network, meaning they connect with anti-aircraft missile batteries, command centers, and data-sharing hubs. Disrupting a major radar in this network doesn't just take down one asset. It weakens the synchronization of the entire system. Russia depends on these radars for early warning. If a radar can't see incoming objects, missiles, drones, or aircraft become much harder to intercept in time. Ukraine has been focusing on degrading Russia's air defense capabilities for months. By weakening these systems, Ukraine creates a wider window of opportunity to launch attacks on high-altitude targets such as energy infrastructure, military logistics hubs, and ammunition storage sites that support Russia's operations in Ukraine. Each successful strike also sends a psychological message. It reminds Russian commanders that no asset is beyond reach. It also exposes vulnerabilities in systems that Moscow once claimed were impenetrable. After the radar strike, Russian channels reportedly showed confusion and concern. Some analysts inside Russia questioned how Ukrainian drones were able to penetrate so deeply without being detected. Others wondered whether the attack revealed weaknesses in Russia's electronic warfare capabilities, which are often praised as some of the strongest in the world. Electronic warfare, or EW, is supposed to jam or disrupt incoming drones. If Ukrainian drones reach the radar undetected or unhindered, it raises the question, is Russia's EW system overstretched, outdated, or simply unable to counter modern Ukrainian designs? Ukraine, on the other hand, has been investing heavily in drone technology because it provides a cost-effective way to challenge bigger, more expensive Russian equipment. A drone worth a few $1,000s can destroy a radar system worth millions. This kind of asymmetrical warfare has become a signature aspect of Ukraine's strategy. Instead of trying to outmatch Russia in numbers, Ukraine focuses on precision, flexibility, and innovation. By targeting radar sites, Ukraine puts pressure on Russia to stretch its defenses thinner and spend more resources replacing damaged equipment. The aftermath of this strike is likely to influence Russia's military planning. First, Moscow will have to reassess the vulnerability of its radar network. This may force Russia to relocate some systems further from the reach of Ukrainian drones, potentially weakening coverage in areas close to the front lines. Second, Russia may deploy additional air defense batteries to protect radar installations, but doing that means pulling those resources from somewhere else, which again leads to gaps. War is often about creating openings, and Ukraine seems to understand that very well. Another major consequence is the signal this sends to NATO and Western partners watching the conflict. Ukraine's capability to strike such significant systems demonstrates that the technology being developed or supplied to Ukraine is producing results. This strengthens Kyiv's argument for continued military support. When Western governments see that their assistance leads to meaningful disruptions of Russian assets, they are more likely to approve future aid packages. This includes drones, long-range missiles, and advanced surveillance tools. For Ukraine, striking a radar system has more than symbolic value. It potentially opens the sky for more Ukrainian aircraft, missiles, or larger drones to operate. Every radar outage, even if temporary, creates a moment of opportunity. Ukrainian planners analyze these windows carefully, often coordinating follow-up strikes or reconnaissance flights during periods when Russia's visibility is limited. Warfare today isn't just about hitting targets. It's about shaping the environment to make future operations safer and more successful. For Russia, losing a radar system also impacts morale. Russian forces already face pressure from constant Ukrainian attacks, long-range drone strikes, and growing internal criticism about the effectiveness of their defenses. When strategic assets are hit, it creates doubt within the ranks and raises concerns among civilians who believed such facilities were far out of Ukraine's reach. Information circulating online shows that many Russian commentators expressed anger and disbelief, questioning whether the military leadership underestimated Ukrainian advancements. Another dimension to consider is the technological evolution of drones. Ukrainian engineers have been creatively modifying engines, enhancing navigation systems, and integrating advanced guidance software. Some drones now use AI-assisted navigation, making them harder to jam and more capable of adjusting mid-flight. Others use terrain-following modes, flying low to avoid radar detection. With every strike like this, Ukraine gathers valuable data, flight path patterns, defense responses, and weaknesses in Russian systems. This data is then fed into future designs, making the next wave of drones even more effective. There is also a broader strategic storyline here: the transformation of modern warfare into a drone-dominated battlefield. 10 years ago, drones were mostly used for surveillance. Today, they are among the most effective offensive tools in large-scale conflicts. Ukraine has embraced this shift faster than almost any other country. The radar strike is just one example of how drones can take on roles traditionally reserved for aircraft, missiles, or special forces units. They reduce risk to human operators while delivering high-impact results. Russia's response to the strike will likely involve rapid reconstruction efforts, but rebuilding radar systems is not a quick task. It requires heavy equipment, specialized engineers, and time. Even if the radar is repaired, its temporary loss has already altered regional calculations. During the downtime, Ukraine may exploit weakened coverage to launch additional strikes on command centers, rail infrastructure, or oil depots. Every hour that the radar is offline is an hour in which Russian air defenses are weakened. Some analysts believe the strike was not only tactical, but part of a larger Ukrainian plan aimed at systematically degrading Russia's deep rear capabilities. Over the past year, Ukrainian drones have hit airfields, oil refineries, fuel storage tanks, military factories, and now major radar systems. This pattern suggests a long-term strategy, eroding Russia's logistical and defensive backbone so that it becomes harder for Moscow to sustain long military campaigns. One important aspect of this attack is that it signals to Russia that distance alone is no longer a reliable shield. For decades, Russia placed key military installations deep inside its territory, believing that enemy forces could never reach them. That assumption has now been shattered repeatedly. When Ukrainian drones strike hundreds of kilometers inside Russia, it forces Moscow to rethink everything: troop placement, radar distribution, command and control networks, and emergency response protocols. This kind of strategic disruption can have an effect far greater than the physical damage caused by any single explosion. The strike also shows growing Ukrainian confidence. Ukraine is no longer merely trying to defend against attacks. It is actively taking the war to Russian territory, targeting assets that influence the war's broader dynamics. This confidence is partly fueled by international support, but also by Ukraine's own innovation. Even under extreme pressure, Ukrainian industries and military designers have been working relentlessly to create solutions tailored to the war's unique challenges. Another question emerging from the aftermath is how Russia will try to adapt. Some expect Russia to invest more heavily in counter-drone technology, including laser defenses, stronger EW systems, and automated anti-drone turrets. Others believe Russia may try to harden radar sites with more fortifications or create decoy installations to mislead Ukrainian drone operators. However, these adaptations take time, and Ukraine has shown that it can innovate faster than Russia can compensate. As the conflict evolves, attacks like this will become more common, and each one will shape the future battlefield. The ability to blind an opponent's radar is one of the most powerful tools in modern warfare, and Ukraine has demonstrated that it can execute such operations effectively. This will influence military planning not only in Europe, but around the world. Countries observing this conflict are taking notes, realizing that future wars will be decided by whoever adapts technologically faster rather than whoever has the largest army. The strike also brings geopolitical implications. Nations supporting Ukraine are encouraged, but nations aligned with Russia are concerned. Countries like Iran, which has been supplying drones to Russia, may now attempt to provide more advanced systems to counter Ukraine's growing capabilities. Meanwhile, Western nations may accelerate their investment in Ukrainian defense projects, seeing clear evidence that these contributions can neutralize Russian assets that once seemed untouchable. In the coming weeks, we will likely see intensified discussions about long-range missile shipments, advanced surveillance drones, and expanded intelligence sharing. The radar strike proves that Ukraine can use such tools effectively, which strengthens political arguments for giving Ukraine more operational freedom and technology. The biggest takeaway from this event is that the war is entering a new phase. Ukraine is increasingly capable of hitting not just front-line targets, but deep, strategic systems that underpin Russia's entire defense structure. Every strike like this widens the psychological gap between the two sides. Ukraine grows more confident and more capable, while Russia faces questions about its preparedness and the reliability of its defenses. This radar strike will be remembered as a moment where the war's power dynamics shifted once again. It underlines the importance of agility, innovation, and precision in modern conflict, and as Ukraine continues developing its long-range strike capabilities, Russia will have to decide whether it can adapt fast enough to protect assets it once believed were safe. What happens next will depend on how both countries interpret the lessons from this attack. Ukraine will likely accelerate its deep strike strategy, while Russia will scramble to reinforce, repair, and respond. But for now, the message is clear. A new chapter has begun in the war, and the aftermath of this radar strike is going to shape the strategic landscape for months to come.